Okay, we're just backstage, ready to go on. Just a few things I always have to do before I go on. Empty my pockets of keys and coins just get in my way otherwise. I've got to check I've got everything. Pointy stick and the remote control. There it is. Okay, then I'm ready. Let's go. Okay. You okay? I'll just show you through. People always sort of ask, do you get really nervous before you go on stage? And I just get a little bit of a tingle, but I don't get very, very worried about it. Before we go through here, I'm just going to have to make sure you be really, really quiet, because if you can hear the audience, they can hear you. We'll try not to disturb anything, okay? So just come on through. Okay. Normally, we do sort of one of two things at the start of the show. Either we have a voiceover saying, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dave Gorman, and I go on. Or when it's like this and it's nice and focused, the music's already sort of stopped. I just go on. The minute the technician sees me, he brings the house lights up and we just get on with the show, and it's kind of a nice, exciting way to start. Okay. Okay, I love that buzz. It gets really exciting just before you go on. Okay, I'm gonna go for it. Wish me luck, I'll see you in a couple of hours. All right. Is this the Grand Theatre?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Dave Gorman.
Hello? 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 Some people are more comfortable with that these days, so thank you very much for coming out. It's nice to see so many of you here. I've got a very strange story to tell you this evening, and I'm always a bit embarrassed at the beginning of this story because it involves an act of vanity on my part, which I'm not exactly proud of. Not the only person who falls victim to it either. Most people in what we laughingly refer to as the entertainment industry fall prey to the same thing. Basically, as we grow older, we acquire the desire to be taken seriously. Happens at about the age of 30. All of a sudden, at the age of 30, every singer wants to be an actor, every actor wants to play Hamlet, and every comedian wants to write a novel. That's the way we're built. I could see all this approaching on my horizon as my 30th birthday was approaching, except that on my 30th birthday, my so-called job took me all the way from London, England, to Aspen, Colorado in the United States of America, and sat me in a theatre watching one of my childhood heroes, Steve Martin, performing a live routine about his singing testicles. I thought to myself, fuck it! This is brilliant! I carry on. So I did. I carried on being an idiot for another year of my life. And then, a year later, on my 31st birthday, it hit me like a train. I woke up on the morning of my 31st birthday thinking I'm 31. I'm a grown-up. I'm an adult. I want to write a novel. So I rang my manager, Rob. That's Rob there. That man is an idiot. He took me seriously. That is no way to further my career, taking me seriously. That's what the idiot did. He said, I'll see what I can do. I'll set up some meetings for you. He rang me back a week later saying, I've set up a meeting with a man called Jake. That's Jake there. Jake works in publishing. Jake works for Random House Publishing. That is the world's largest publishers. And that man is another idiot. He also took the idea of me writing a novel seriously. I ended up in a meeting with Rob and Jake, both taking the idea of me writing a novel seriously, which appealed to me. I was 31. I wanted to be taken seriously. That was good. It was nice. It was comfy. And Jake, very young, but also very earnest, very keen that I understood exactly how hard it was to write a novel. He's saying to me, Dave, Dave, it's very hard work. It's just you, your imagination, and a computer. Are you really sure you're going to put the hours in? And I said, yes, Jake. I'm 31. I'll tell you how serious I am. I am actually considering growing a beard. And as I said that, I locked eyes on Jake, mainly because I didn't dare look at Rob. I knew what Rob was doing. Rob's eyes were burning into the side of my face, thinking, do not fuck up this meeting with your stupid beard talk, mister. So I've locked onto Jake instead. He crumbled. He went, you've got a deal. And he took my hand, and there and then, on a handshake in that office, the world's largest publisher gave me a deal to write a novel on condition that I grew a beard. So obviously, I went away and grew a beard, didn't I? If you don't believe me, there it is. I don't know why I'm showing you that, because here it is, here. And then things got even more stupid. The idiots gave me money. That's no way to get me working, giving me money. You want me to work, you keep me hungry. That's how you do that. The idiots went and put money in the pot. I have no idea how to explain to a collection of grown-ups such as yourself how I got given money for doing something before I'd done any of the doing of it. The best I can think to explain it is to say that this man's stupid and this man's good. But anyway, the upshot is I'm there in my living room, 31 years of age, beard on my face, money in the bank, at the computer, trying to write a novel. Oh, it's hard work, really. I had no idea. I've never been the most motivated man in the world. I like doing things, I just don't like starting them. I'm not good at the beginning. As a kid, if I had to revise for exams, I couldn't do it until I'd rearranged all the furniture in my bedroom, painted that wall and gone to Germany and back, you know? That's in my nature, that's the man that I am. I wanted to write the novel, I really did, I just couldn't. Everything else suddenly seemed more important. I'd be sitting at home thinking, I know, I'll crack on with chapter 1 of this novel, just as soon as I've alphabetised my CD collection, defrosted the fridge, vacuumed the carpets, painted the kitchen, everything in the world suddenly seemed more important. But the biggest distraction of all was my computer. Jake lied to me. Jake said it's just you, your imagination, and your computer. That's not strictly speaking true. My computer is attached to the internet. The internet contains everything in the whole wide world ever. I don't know about you, but I sometimes find everything in the whole wide world ever to be a bit distracting. I would sit there at the computer thinking, right, here we go, chapter 1. Just as soon as I've checked my emails. Well, that's a day of my life right there, isn't it? I get more emails in a day than it is possible to read in a day. It's not just friends and family and colleagues that write to me. Complete strangers write to me by their hundreds every day of my life. If I sit down to read them, that's the day wiped out. That's what I was doing one day, kidding myself this is some kind of preparation for writing a novel. I'm reading all of these emails. One of them catches my attention. I don't know who it was from. It was from a complete stranger. If I had to guess, I would tell you that I think he's Australian. I don't know that for a fact, obviously. People don't start emails by saying, hello, I am Australian, do they? What he actually said was, g'day, Davo, it's a good guess, I'll give me that. G'day, Davo, did you know you're a Googlewhack, Stevo? I thought, well, no, I don't. I don't know what a Googlewhack is. And forgive me, but it does sound like some kind of weird Australian insult. There's only one part of my anatomy. I can imagine the Australians calling a Google, and Steve-O appears to be accusing me of whacking mine. Well, you can't write a novel under those circumstances, can you? It's not possible. I needed to know what a Googlewhack was. So I sat there, I wrote him an email saying, what the hell is a Googlewhack? And he wrote back explaining it to me. I'll do my best to explain it to you here and now. Basically, Googlewhacking is a game that people play using the search engine Google. If you get online and go to google.com, enter 2 words and press search, Google then goes off and looks at over 3 billion pages looking for your 2 words. It brings back every single one of those pages that contains not just one, but both of the words you told it to look for. Normally, any 2 words you put in, it's going to come back saying, here are 8,947 pages of information. If, however, it comes back saying, here is the one and only one page, when only one out of over 3 billion pages contains both of your 2 words, that there is a Googlewhack. Now, I'll give you an example to make it really clear, and I'll use the one that Steve-O had found. When Steve-O said that I was a Googlewhack, he didn't mean that my name, Dave Gorman, was one. He means that my website, davegorman.com, contained one. He'd gone to Google, he'd entered in the 2 words, francophile and namesakes, and if you do that, Google looks like that, and as you can see, that is just the one hit there, results 1 to 1 of 1. I'm not making that up, it's the real deal. Now, Some people, they see that, they think it's much easier than it actually is. Some people fondly imagine you're meant to put the words in inverted commas. I don't know where that idea comes from. I said nothing of the sort. I said just put 2 words in. And if you were going to Googlewhack properly, you should obey the rules. Rule number 1, there is no punctuation. It is just the 2 words. That's all you're looking for. And as you can see, that is just the 2 words there. No cheating has occurred. Rule number 2, some people think you're allowed to make up new words or spell words incorrectly for the sake of it, to make them rarer. You can't do that. The words have to exist already. They have to be in dictionary.com. That is the dictionary of choice for the Googlewhackers of this world. The reason being, it's Google's dictionary of choice as well. Google actually tells you if the words are in the dictionary or not. You don't need to go and look it up. On the blue bar there, you can see the 2 words are underlined. That's Google's way of telling you they're in the dictionary. If they're underlined, they're in the book. If they're not, they're not. It's as simple as that. Rule number 3, the website that it finds can't be a word list of any kind. It can't be a page from a dictionary or a thesaurus or a Scrabble page or anything like that. It's got to be a real website written by a real person with real words in context. And obviously, I know that those words count because I wrote them. They're part of my website. It's davegorman.com. So there you go. It's very simple. 2 words, 1 hit, 3 rules. That's the rules of Googlewhacking. Now you all know what a Googlewhack is. And now you're probably sitting thinking, well, there you go, Dave. You've established it's not some weird Australian insult. There's nothing to stop you cracking on with chapter 1 of your novel, is there? Only it's not that simple, is it? If you find out what a Googlewhack is and you're sitting at a computer when you find out what one is, and you don't try to find one, you're not bloody human, surely. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm good at this, surely I've got a head for this kind of thing. I like words, yeah. Kind of thing a novelist would do, isn't it? Think about words, yeah, I'll give that a go, yeah, absolutely. It'll take me 20 minutes, I reckon. I wasted another day of my life. I spent hours failing, hours and hours, putting random pairs of words in. 4 hours after I'd started, I was still going. Pork turncoat, 381 hits. Why are there 381 pages with pork and turncoat on? That's what I'd like to know. Porky turncoat, 43 hits. Dork turncoat, 78 hits. Dork turnsbit, oh, yes. I got one eventually, didn't I? Of course I did, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I found one. There it is for you there on Google. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is quite an intimidating website to go and visit, yeah. womenanddogsuk.co.uk. You pause for breath before you click on a link like that, don't you, really? I live alone. I still checked over my shoulders before I clicked on that. I'm about to show you a photograph from womenanddogsuk.co.uk. If you're worried about this, you think this might offend you, please look away now. I'm not showing it in order to cause offence. I'm showing it to you in order to demonstrate the nature of the Googlewhack I found that day. It's not going to be on the screen for very long, and I will tell you when I'm taking it away. So please, if you are worried, look away now. Here comes the photo. There you go. This was the first photograph I found. It was in a book, writes Marcus from Birmingham. How beautiful is this? I love shit like this. This is a man called Marcus who lives in Birmingham, whose hobby is collecting second-hand photographs of women and dogs. How beautiful is the world now that you know he exists? I love this. I looked at his one. He explains on his website how he got started with this hobby. Basically, one day, he's in Birmingham where he lives. He's in a second-hand bookshop. He buys a book he thinks he'll enjoy, takes it home and starts reading it. Only when he gets home and starts reading it does he discover this photograph wedged within the pages. He thinks, isn't that peculiar? What an odd bookmark. Puts it on the side, carries on reading his book. A couple of weeks later, back in town, he walks into a little charity shop where he finds a shoebox full of postcards and photos. Now, he's not thinking about this photograph. He's forgotten this even exists. He's just a curious fellow, in every sense of the word. So he starts scrolling through to see what he can find, and lo and behold, he finds another photo of another woman and another dog. And in his tiny little mind, he thinks, that's 2! 2 is a collection. And so he started collecting them there and then, and he's been doing it ever since, and his website is full of them. I looked at every single picture that man had to offer. I wasted another day of my life looking at this. How could you not when it's full of things like that, really? Her red shoes suggest that she is lively. Yes, of course. We know this to be true, surely. I love things like this. And at the end of the day, when I looked at every single picture this man had to offer, I thought, you know what? I'm missing a trick here, aren't I? When Steve-O found a Googlewhack on my website, he sent me an email to tell me that I was a Googlewhack. Presumably, that's how you're supposed to behave. Otherwise, you're Googlewhacking behind someone's back. That can't be polite. So I sent an email to Marcus saying, hello, Marcus, did you know that you are a Googlewhack? And he wrote back saying, what the hell is a Googlewhack? And so I wrote back explaining it to him, and he wrote back to me saying, that sounds a bit strange. Which is a bit fucking rich when you think that's his hobby. But I liked him. He was a lovely man. We wrote to each other every day for months on end, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. Went on for 3 or 4 months, this. And I'll tell you what, writing to him 3 or 4 times a day for 3 or 4 months is another great way of not writing a novel. Then it kind of faded out. You know when you've not met someone, they're just an email correspondent. I sent a couple of emails that didn't get replies. I don't know what happened. He just sort of faded away. Another couple of months went by. I should point out, during this sort of maybe 6 months I'm discussing here, I was trying to write the novel. I would sit in front of the computer every single day and put nothing there. I tried. I really couldn't do it. I kept trying to trick my head into new ways of thinking. I'd be sitting at home on Sunday afternoon, observe a newspaper, pot of coffee on the go, thinking, I know, I'll crack on with chapter 1 of this novel just as soon as I finish this crossword. That's what I'll do, yeah. I'll do a crossword, cryptic crossword, get my head thinking. The minute it's thinking, I've tricked it, I'll start work. That's what I'll do, yeah. Start doing the observer cryptic crossword. Bit of a tricky bugger, I'm doing okay. It's cryptic, you know, they're hard. The words are weird, aren't they? I'm getting through them. Maybe 7 or 8 answers in the grid. Answer number 9 going in. And I find myself thinking, my, these words have never met before. There's no theme to this crossword. What I've got here is a random assortment of relatively obtuse words. Hey. That reminds me of that weird Googlewhack thing I was thinking about 6 months ago, yeah. I reckon the recipe for a Googlewhack is 2 unconnected but relatively obtuse words. Hey, if my theory is correct, there should be a couple of Googlewhacks hiding in this crossword. Hey, I tell you what, I'll crack on with chapter 1 of this novel just as soon as I finish this crossword and checked it out for Googlewhacks. That's what I'll do. I finished it. I don't normally finish a cryptic. I must have been especially motivated by the whack factor. I went through it. I couldn't believe my eyes. 3 down, 17 across, varsity's bonnets. That's a Googlewhack, and there it is. 26 across and 8 down, rare bit nutters. That's a Googlewhack, and there it is. 23 across and 25 across, termagant Holbein. That's a Googlewhack, and there it is. I got 3 Googlewhacks from one 26 solution crossword. I was delighted. I had invented a Googlewhack engine there. All by myself. I'm in my own living room feeling ever so strangely proud. But alone. I wanted to share my excitement, share my pride with them. I got my mobile phone, I started scrolling through the numbers thinking, who amongst my friends is best placed to really understand this peculiar sensation of pride right now? Scrolling through, I see the name Danny, that's the man. You've got to know your friends well for this one, haven't you? I'm about to hit that green button. Just as my thumb gets to the green button, my phone rings. Instead of making the call I'm trying to make, I end up taking a call and I've no idea who it's from. Who is it? What do you want? He said, it's Marcus, the woman and dog man. I haven't thought about Marcus for months on end, Googlewhacking for even longer, and yet the moment I Googlewhack, Marcus rings me up. It's like I've summoned the Googlewhack genie from nowhere. Well, what is it? What do you want? He said, I'm just letting you know I'm coming down to London in 2 weeks' time. I thought you might like to get together. OK, what do you want to do? He said, is there anywhere near you that we could buy some photographs? I have no idea where you have to go to buy second-hand photographs of women and dogs, nor do I fancy placing an advert. But what the hell, we'll give it a go. So 2 weeks later, he meets me in London. I release him in Spitalfields Market in the East End, near where I live. He's like a laser-guided missile in that place. Put him down, off he goes, through that market, into the corner, under a trestle table, in a fruit box, covered in some tea towels. He found a collection of second-hand photographs. He must have been able to smell them to know they were there. Gets the box out, starts riffling through, maybe 1,000. I didn't count them. It took him 40 minutes, that's all I can tell you. He came away with 4 photos for his website. He was delighted. And the strange thing is, so was I. Every time a woman and a dog came out of there, go on, get in there. It was like sport to me. I was excited. It was brilliant. Oh, at the end of that, 4-0 to me and Marcus. Come on, young man, I'm taking you out for Sunday lunch. You're coming with me. Down to my local pub we go. Nice Sunday roast, half a pint of beer. We're getting on famously now. Marcus says as much. He says, Dave, this is incredible. You and I are getting on incredibly well. And to think that we met because of the most random thing in the world, a Googlewhack. How odd is that? I said, it's very odd indeed, Marcus. But isn't it beautiful in its own way? He said, I know, but think about it. These Googlewhacks must be almost impossible to find. I said, well, And not that hard, because I know I've invented the engine. He says, they must be. Google looks at over 3 billion pages. I said, I know, but maybe every one of those 3 billion pages contains a Googlewhack. You don't know until you look, do you? Hey, I tell you what, if you want to, come back to my house now. I'll make the coffee. I'm only 3 minutes away. You can have a go on my computer. That's what we did. Took 4 minutes to get home, because on the way, I bought a newspaper, fancied a bit of showing off. 5 minutes later, he's at my computer, tip-tapping away, coffee by his side. I'm sitting in my armchair, 3 or 4 metres behind him, observe a newspaper, biro, crossword, thinking, right, I'll show him some fucking Googlewhacking. Here we go. Had you all been sitting in my living room that day, which would have been weird, but had you been, you would have seen me about 40 minutes later leaping out of my armchair in full-on celebration mode. Real go on, you beauty! I was a happy man. Nothing to do with the computer. I couldn't see the computer. That was Marcus's domain entirely. I was sitting 3 or 4 metres behind him. I'm looking at the crossword. And I couldn't even do the crossword that day. I've managed to find a copy of the Observer from the day in question. It's not the one I had in my hands physically, obviously, but it's the same crossword, it's the same newspaper, it's the same day. That's what it was looking at. And it wasn't that. I couldn't do it. My mind starts to wander. My eyes start to drift around the room and around the page. I suddenly saw a detail on that crossword that I hadn't noticed when I first picked it up. The winners from 2 weeks earlier. And I'm one of them. I won the Observer Cryptic Crossword. I don't normally win things in life. All of a sudden, I'm one of life's winners. Oh, I was delighted. I was so happy. One of the other contestants is a church from Southampton. Well, they should have something better to do on a Sunday, if you ask me. That's not right, is it? Oh. I didn't even know what the prize was. I didn't care what the prize was. I loved being a winner. It was exciting. It actually does say on the page, well, the winners all receive the new Penguin English Dictionary worth £15.99. Nothing to get too excited about, nearly £16 worth of dictionary. That wasn't what got me excited, was it? No. It was the fact that I was a winner. Now, had you all been in my living room that day spectating, at the exact same split second that you would have seen me leaping out of my chair in full-on celebration mode, you would have seen Marcus leaping out of his chair in a celebration of equal magnitude. He knew nothing about the crossword. He couldn't see that. I was sitting behind him. So either he's just joining in, which is a worry, or he's got something of his own to celebrate. So I turned to him, what is it? What are you typing about? He said, I've done it. I've got myself a Googlewhack, and he had the lucky bugger. Unconstructive superegos. Didn't take him long at all, did it? Oh, no, and there it is for you there on Google, and there's the website it leads to there. I saw that. It was like I'd seen a ghost. I've been to that website before. That doesn't make sense. This is a 1 in 3 billion chance. Marcus is a 1 in 3 billion chance. He's sitting in my living room taking another 1 in 3 billion chance. That shouldn't land in familiar territory. That should be in the realm of the unknown. I didn't know why I'd been there, when I'd been there, how I'd been there. I just knew that I had. I started scouring that page, looking for the detail that would trigger the memory. And when I saw what it was, I could not believe what I was looking at. Copyright David Gorman! What are the chances of that actually happening? That makes no sense whatsoever. And let me explain something here, don't you get confused. That's got nothing to do with me. That is not saying copyright me. It is saying copyright somebody else entirely, but who happens to share my name. But as it happens, it is somebody that I already know. There's a picture of him in his own website there. There's another picture of him from about 4 years ago, and there's me meeting him there. What are the lone chances of that actually happening? That is ridiculous. And I feel I should explain something here, because I don't expect anyone to be familiar with my background, so let me explain. About 4 years ago, I travelled all over the world meeting other people called David Gorman, because my flatmate at the time, Danny, bet me I couldn't meet loads of them. I won that bet. I met loads of them. In fact, in London, I organised a party for 50 of them, and there they are, there. But what people don't understand is that that man there is precisely who I didn't want to be anymore. That man there is a 20-something idiot version of me. I was in my 30s now. It's precisely because I didn't want to be that idiot there that I did this to myself. But in spite of doing that to myself, I'm still being confronted by this every which way that I turn. I can't get away from it. It was ridiculous. Now, as it happens, me and this particular David Gorman, the one whose website we'd just found, we've stayed in touch. We're quite good friends. He's a lovely fella. He lives in the south of France. He's actually Canadian, but his girlfriend's French, and that's where they live. Lovely man. The first time I met him, all I had was a postal address. Fine. I got on a plane. I flew all the way to France, hired a car, drove on through France into Provence, found his little village, found his house, and discovered he wasn't in. He was visiting a friend in London. I flew all the way back home and met him 5 miles from my own front door the next sodding day. But ever since then, we've stayed in touch. We're quite good pals. He comes to England quite frequently. He's got a son who lives in London. We've met for drinks maybe 8 or 9 times in the last year. And oddly, on one occasion, we both happened to be in New York at the same time for completely different reasons. We met for a drink and a meal there as well. We're quite good pals. Obviously, when I discovered his website, again in this most peculiar fashion, I gave him a ring. I said, "You're not going to believe what's just happened." And he said, "What?" And I told him, and he said, "I don't believe you." I said, "I told you you wouldn't." He said, "You're right, you did." And then he said the one thing he always says, whenever we chat, correspond, meet, whatever, there's always one thing that comes up in the conversation. He says to me, "Dave, this is ridiculous. You've been to our house, but you've only seen the front door. Why don't you come one time when we are in? We've got a pool in the back garden, we've got a spare room, you, me, my girlfriend Ellen, we all get on really well. Why don't you come over and stay with us sometime? It'd be nice to have you around the place. Come over a weekend, a week, a fortnight, whatever you need." I said, "Dave, I'd love to, I really would. I can't right now, I'm really busy, I'm writing a novel, and I'll be honest with you, Dave, I haven't actually started writing any of the words yet, and I really feel that the words is the area I want to focus on next as far as the writing goes. And I'll be fair with you, Dave, I can't even afford it. I've got some money in the bank, but it's not really my money at the moment. It's an advance from the publishers for the novel. Until I've written some of the words to earn some of those pounds, I don't think it's really morally fair for me to go spending that cash. I can't do it, Dave, I'm sorry." He went, "Look, it's the age of the budget airline. They're all over the shop. You can get a cheap flight. You can afford it on your own steam. Come out for a couple of days in France, blow the cobwebs out your head. It might help you start writing." Makes sense, I'll give it a go, I'll see what I can do. I got online the next day, went to see what the budget airlines could do. Ryanair.com, cheapest fare from London to Nîmes, 0.01 Great British pound, 1 fucking penny to fly to France and another penny to fly back again. On a plane of all things, how do they do that? I said yes before the computer decided it was clearly making some kind of mistake. I rang David, immediately said, "I'm coming out in 2 weeks' time." I nearly told her I'm coming out every week for that kind of money, I'll tell you. I'll commute for that kind of money. I was delighted. 2 pence to France and back. How do they do that? Oh, I didn't get much work done that week, did I? No. Oh, I walked around with a bit of a spring in my steps, all I did for a week or two. A couple of days after I've booked these tickets, still a couple of weeks before I'm actually flying out to France, I'm leaving the house one day, just to get a bite to eat. I find an envelope waiting for me on the doormat from the Observer newspaper. Now, they've got no reason to write to me other than to send me the dictionary that I won in their crossword. You can't hide a dictionary in a little envelope like that. For the easily confused, that's not to scale. You can't hide a dictionary in a little envelope like that, can you not? So there I am. I'm on the doorstep looking at this envelope. I got a bit suspicious. I needed to know then. I open it up straight away. I don't want to shatter any illusions. You might read the Observer. They cheat. It didn't contain a dictionary. It contained book tokens. Book tokens, mark you, that were only worth £15. Exactly. If you remember, the dictionary is only worth £15 and 99 pence. They've diddled me there out of 99 pence. And I hope you don't mind me saying, Swansea, that some of you went for an almost patronising panto-style reaction there. There was a bit of, ooh. Go on, join in, pretend to be offended, it's only 99 pence. Ooh. As if it doesn't really matter because it's only 99p. Let me remind you, you could fly to France and back 49 and a half times for that kind of money. That counts in this day and age. That is serious wonga. I was offended by this, and I was right to be offended by this, but I'll tell you what, I surprised myself with quite how mature I was in this situation. Yes, I wrote a letter of complaint, but no, I didn't post it. I know how much stamps cost. I'm not falling for their games. Absolutely not. I was happy enough. I was going to France. That was enough excitement for me, and that's what I did. I flew to France. If you don't believe me, there's my boarding card, and there I am in France with David by the side of the pool having a lovely time. Now, what's happened at this stage of the game is I've contacted 5 different Googlewhacks. Of the 5 that I've contacted, 2 of them have returned my contact and I've ended up meeting them both. In meeting them both, I've travelled 1,064 miles, giving us, I'm sure you're all aware, 532 miles per Googlewhack. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm looking at you now and see the same question floating around in all of your eyes. You're all looking at me now with that little curious Swansea expression. You're thinking, Dave, what's that done to the graph? Well, I, on the other hand, find myself looking straight back at you thinking, what graph? Why would there be a graph for that kind of information? Why would you all get together and expect a stranger to walk on stage in Swansea this evening and give you trivial details from his past in graph form? How would that help us understand this story anymore? Did any of us know more about this story because that graph was there? This makes no sense at all. I don't want to be cruel to you. You seem like a nice bunch of people. But that is a little bit sad. You don't need a graph. It doesn't help us in any way. We don't know more about the story. There is no graph. You don't need a graph. There is no graph. You don't need a sodding graph. You don't need one. You need a pie chart for that kind of thing. Now, what's happened here is that 40% of the Googlewhacks I've contacted have returned my contact. Now we know more about the story. Now we're learning, you see. Now it's useful. But some of you, I can see you're ahead of me now. You're thinking, excuse me, Mr. Gorman, statistical anomaly. You can't include David Gorman, who lives in France, in these figures. He's your friend. And you're right, of course you can't. He's my friend. Of course he returned my contact. I rang him up. Of course we ended up meeting. We're friends. That's one of the many things you do with your friends. Meet them. You can't realistically expect 1 in 5 of the Googlewhacks you find at random to be your friend already, can you? No. Let's remove him from these figures and just consider the pool of strangers that I've contacted. From the pool of strangers, only 1 in 4, 25% have actually returned my contact. So there I am. I'm in France. I'm in David's living room, and I'm running him through these charts. And he says to me, Dave, this is fascinating. I said, is it? He said, think about it. I am number 2 in a chain. I said, are you? What do you mean? He said, well, you didn't think of my Googlewhack, did you? Your imagination conjured up the words dork and turnspit. His imagination conjured up unconstructive superegos. I am number 2 in a chain. I said, so are you are? Yes, so you are, yes. Very good, lovely diagram. Well done, yes. I see. He said, well, isn't that interesting, Dave? I mean, every step you take down that chain takes you 1 step further from your own imagination. You're right. Yes, you're a bit of a hippie, but you're right. He said, well, how far from your own imagination do you think you could travel, Dave? I said, what do you mean? He said, how many links in the chain could there be? I said, what do you mean? He said, come on, Dave. I'll bet you couldn't get 10 in a row. Dave, you idiot. Of course you could. I've just shown you the mathematics, haven't I? 1 in 4 people is going to say yes. Every time you find a Googlewhack, you persuade him to find 4 more. One of those will say yes, persuade him to find 4 more. One of those will say yes, persuade him to find 4 more. One of those will say yes, persuade him to find 4 more, and so on. You'll get 10 in a row, no trouble at all. It's mathematically likely. He went, yeah, that's if everyone finds you 4, isn't it? Not everyone's going to be able to. Not everyone's going to want to, Dave. No, it's hard, isn't it? I reckon you should make it trickier here. We put some rules in. Make it tricky for the people who find it easy, but easier for the people who find it hard. I reckon everyone should only be able to find you 2. Hey, if everyone could only find you 2 Googlewhacks, I bet you couldn't get 10 in a row then, could you? I said, Dave, you're clearly not a mathematician. You're not thinking this through. It's an infinite task. It goes on forever. If you gave me a coin now and said, I bet you can't toss 10 heads in a row, and I tossed that coin 10 billion times, somewhere in that 10 billion long sequence there would be 10 heads in a row, and if there weren't, I'd just keep tossing until there were. It goes on forever. You'll always succeed. He went, yeah, but now you are assuming that life is in some way infinite. Which it's not. No. What you need is some kind of deadline. What do you mean, what I need? I'm talking about an abstract mathematical problem here. You're talking like I'm actually going to fucking do this. He said, but you do things like this. I do not do things like this. I've done one thing a bit like this once. That was years ago now. 4 years ago. Just because that's how you and I met, you can't go assuming I do things like this. You've met me 9 or 10 times in the last 4 years. Was I doing something like that then? I think you'll find I wasn't. I'm a grown-up now, Dave. I was an idiot child when you first met me. I was in my 20s. I don't know if you've noticed anything about me, Dave. I don't know if you've noticed anything different around here. But I'll have you know, I am a 31-year-old man. He went, hey, let me stop you right there. I'm your friend, Dave. And I love you. But I'm older than you, and I've got some advice for you from an older man. 31 is not the age to go growing up. 32. I said, no. He said, all I'm saying saying is, I bet you can't get 10 Googlewhacks in a row before your 32nd birthday. For everyone you meet, he's only have to find you 2 more Googlewhacks. And I said, no, I'm not doing this. Please listen to me. You know I don't want to do this. I'm here for a weekend in France with you and Hélène. I love you too, Dave. I'm not going to fight with you. But at the end of this weekend, I'm going home to England. I'm having a nice, quiet family Christmas with my mum. And then I'm going to crack on with chapter 1 of my novel. OK? OK, let's not fight. Bottle of red, everyone's happy. Nice evening. In the morning, I wake up. I wander through the kitchen. No hangover, very good wine. In the kitchen, David's already there preparing breakfast. He's a wonderful host. He says to me, Dave, I should have said this to you yesterday. I'm so sorry. I know what it's like to travel. I'm away from home a lot myself. You need to use the phone. You need to ring England, ring your parents, anything like that. Please, don't ask questions. Don't treat yourself as a visitor. Treat yourself as if you own the place. You might as well, your name's on the mortgage. I said... It's only a couple of days in France. No one's panicking. It's all right. I'll be fine. I don't need the phone. He went, look, I know what it's like. I travel. You need to check your emails, anything like that. There's a computer in the study. It's online always. Just go in there and help yourself. Actually, I get a lot of emails. Do you mind if I do? If I don't, I'm going to go home and have like 1,000 waiting for me. Okay, I'll just be 20 minutes. I'll chip away at it. Into his studio I go, tip-tapping away on his keyboard. He comes in 2 minutes later. Cup of coffee for you there, David Gorman? Thank you very much, David Gorman. It still makes us chuckle. We're very childish. Off he goes. He comes back in 2 minutes later, this time pan au chocolat. Here you are, David Gorman, pan au chocolat for you there, David Gorman. Thank you very much, David Gorman. Even the 2-minute gap we gave it doesn't diminish the chuckle. We're very, very childish. Off he goes, he comes back in 2 minutes later, this time piece of paper torn off the back of an envelope. Here you are, David Gorman. A couple of people I think you might want to be emailing while you're online. Oh, look at this piece of paper. 2 email addresses belonging to complete strangers. Why would I want to email 2 complete strangers? Am I not making myself clear? These are the 2 Googlewhacks I found. I didn't ask you to find me any. Why have you found me 2 Googlewhacks? He said, they're number 3 in the chain. I said, I'm not on a chain. You invented the chain. You get on the chain and do it yourself. If that's how you feel about it, go on. He said, go on. I got up early for these. I worked hard for these. I thought they might whet your appetite. Go on. Have a look, see if you're tempted. All right, I'll have a look. I'll show you how not tempted I am. Go on, do your best. What have you got? Show me what you found. He was very pleased with himself. He'd found unicyclist periscopes, and there it is for you there, and Dauphin Gourmandise, and boy, was he proud of Dauphin Gourmandise. Come on, Dave, this is the Googlewhack closest to our name. Come on. No. You're not getting into my head that way. Absolutely not. I looked them both up for him. Obviously, Dauphin Gourmandise belongs to a history professor from a Jesuit university in New York City. The other one, Unicyclist Periscopes, belongs to an organisation called the American Physical Society. They represent the interests of American physicists. They're based in Washington, D.C. I'm looking at these things saying to David, look, I'm not going to get on a plane and go to New York or Washington because you want me to. That would be the actions of a lunatic. Now, come on, I explained it all to you last night when we were drunk. I'll do it again now while we're sober if I have to. I'm not doing this. You know what's going on in my life. You know I've got this contract. You know I want to do this. If you encourage me to do anything other than write that novel, I consider that an unfriendly gesture. You mean, oh, all right then. You're right. You are growing up. Looking forward to reading your novel. It's testing you. I tell you what, at least send them an email, eh? Tell them they're a Googlewhack, yeah? Be honest, you like knowing you're a Googlewhack. I like knowing I'm a Googlewhack. Go on, give them the good news. All right, then I will. Hello, American Physical Society, did you know that you're a Googlewhack, Dave San? Hello, American History Professor, did you know that you're a Googlewhack, Dave San? Sent these 2 emails off. Dauphin Gourmandise, the one in New York City, that bounced straight back to me, an error message saying this address no longer exists. I don't know why, he's moved on and left the website's out of date, that's all I know. But the other one, Unicyclist Periscopes, the American Physical Society in Washington, D.C., they wrote back to me. A man called David Harris wrote back going, are we really a Googlewhack? Oh, I've heard of Googlewhacks, they're fascinating, aren't they? All to do with networks and nodes and the internet of everything and randomness and chance, and he's a physicist. I didn't really understand a word he was saying. But all of the words in between the science words were quite nice and bouncy and jolly. And I thought, well, he's probably being quite nice and bouncy and jolly as well, isn't he? I'll reply in a similar tone of voice. So I did, and then he wrote back and I wrote back. We probably wrote about 6 or 7 emails apiece that day between France and Washington. But at the end of that, I go back to plan A. I fly home to England, have a nice, quiet family Christmas with my mum, at the end of which I find myself thinking, it's time for me to crack on with chapter 1 of my novel. Probably best to get New Year's Eve out of the way first, though, isn't it? Really, New Year, it hangs over you. It's a big one. It needs respect. You should do it properly, shouldn't you, really? I know. New Year's resolution, write a novel, easily solved. There we go. Into the car, down to London I go. Nice party, me and 20 friends. We're in Soho. Champagne is flowing. We're singing and laughing and dancing and chatting and having a wonderful time. We're moving from venue to venue, and as we do, we lose a few people along the way. About 5 in the morning, there's still 10 of us left. 2 taxis, back to my house, open some more booze, the party continues. It's a nice party, the atmosphere's good, but it has shifted a little bit. Now that we're down to 10 people, there's only 3 girls left and 7 boys. The boys are being a bit competitive, a bit alpha male. They're all trying to dominate proceedings. Not physically, I don't keep that kind of company, but mentally, I definitely keep that kind of company. They're all telling stories and trying to be the one who tells the most impressive story of the day. Everyone's very polite, they give you the floor, you tell your tale. The minute you finish telling your story, somebody always leaps in with a "that reminds me!" and they go higher and further and most importantly louder than the last person. One of my friends, lovely chap, lives in southeast London. He'd been on holiday to Spain that year. He told us all a story from his Spanish holiday. Walking up an Andalusian mountain in Spain, he bumped into his next-door neighbour from London walking down that self-same mountain. He told that story to the group and finished it going, "Isn't that the most amazing coincidence ever?" And I said, "No! It is not the most amazing coincidence ever. This is the most amazing coincidence ever." And I proceeded to tell my living room the story I've already told you this evening about me in that living room with a 1 in 3 billion chance who takes another 1 in 3 billion chance and lands with someone I know and who shares my name and who happens to live in France. And the whole room said, "That is the most amazing coincidence ever." And I said, "Yes, I know." And they said, "What happened then?" I said, "Well, I went to France." "Really? What happened then?" "Well, I stayed with Dave Gorman." "Really? What happened then?" "Well, he said this, so I said this, and she said that, so he said this, and I said the other, and he said this, and she said that, and I said this, and he said this, and she said this, and I said that, and he said this, so I said that, and she said this, and he said that." But I said, "This is amazing. When are you going to go to Washington?" "I'm not going to go to Washington. I've just told you the whole story, including the bit about me not going to Washington. Why didn't you listen to that bit?" And they said, "But we're your friends. We bet you can't get 10 in a row as well." And I said, "No. I am a grown-up. I am an adult. I am a 31-year-old man with a beard on my face and a contract to write a novel. I am an adult. So why the hell am I having a temper tantrum in my own house on New Year's Eve?" And they said, "Ooh, touchy." And one of my friends leapt in and went, "Stop this. We are friends. We're in the company of people we love. We're having a party to celebrate the new year. We have no right to force one of our number to do something he does not wish to do. We should be encouraging each other in our own endeavours. Now, please, let's remember that we love each other. Let's remember this is a party. Let's have another drink together and put this kind of nonsense behind us." And he reached into my kitchen and pulled down my emergency bottle of tequila. At which point, I find it rather difficult to tell you what happened to me on New Year's Eve. I don't remember very much more of what happened on New Year's Eve. The best I can offer you is some kind of dramatic reconstruction of events, as follows. That's all that I know happened on New Year's Eve. New Year's Day I remember very clearly. I woke up on New Year's Day 2003 with a horrible, horrible, horrible hangover. I'm sure many of you have woken up on many a New Year's Day with a horrible, horrible, horrible hangover. I promise you that mine was worse. I was woken up on New Year's Day 2003 by a young Chinese boy. I don't live with any young Chinese boys. I knew that something was wrong immediately. Took me a couple. He walked away from me, revealing a little newsagent in the distance. There isn't one of those in my house either. I knew that something was very, very, very wrong immediately. Took me a couple of seconds for the scales to fall from my eyes and everything to snap into focus, and I suddenly realised where I was. I woke up New Year's Day 2003 in Heathrow fucking airport. Red hot flush of anger and panic went right through me. Why am I here? What have I done? What's happened to me? What have I... Oh, wallet. Yes, I've got my wallet. Life's okay. And phone. Wallet and phone. I've got my life. I'll get home. It's okay. Good, 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 good. Bad. That's very bad. That's my passport. Why have I got my passport? Oh, fuck. Oh, shitting fuck. I swear on my life this is true. I woke up New Year's Day 2003 with a ticket to Washington, D.C. paid for on my own fucking credit card in my pocket. I went straight to my ticket desk going, you can't sell that to me, that is illegal selling that to me. I was exceedingly drunk when you sold that to me. I demand my money back. It is against the law selling airline tickets to drunk people. Apparently, it's not. They can do what they want, including not giving me a refund. You can't have your money back now, Mr. Gorman. It's the day of the flight, Mr. Gorman. It's too late for that, Mr. Gorman. I thought you'd know that, Mr. Gorman. There's two things you can do with that ticket, Mr. Gorman. You can go to Washington, D.C. with it or stay in London and look at it. I'm looking at that ticket. That cost a lot of money, that did. That goes to Washington, D.C. and comes back again a week later. That's a holiday, that is. You can't just put a holiday in the bin, can you? There are people starving in Africa. They'd love a holiday. I'm looking at that. I found myself thinking, I know. Best thing to do with a holiday you don't want, start chuffing wanting it. That's the best thing to do with a holiday you don't want. I went straight to my ticket desk. You can't, right? I'm going to go on holiday. I'm going to go on holiday, aren't I? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back with a smile on my face. You wouldn't know what that's like, would you, Mrs. Ticket Desk? I'm going to have a holiday. I'm going to go to Washington. So I did. I flew to Washington, if you don't believe me. There I am, in Washington. And I might be smiling in that photograph, but I'm not having a very good time. I went on holiday by myself. I don't like myself that much. I'm the last person I want to go on holiday with. This was the most stupid, screwed-up thing I've ever done to my body in my life. An 8-hour flight, breathing recycled air with your own knees in your chin. That is no way to get over a hangover, let me tell you. The only thing about that flight, the only thing that got me through that flight, there was a girl on the plane, 4 seats that way, I think 1 row back. She was absolutely gorgeous. On that flight, I think in my imagination, the two of us fell a little bit in love. When we landed and walked into the airport, I find myself just drifting casually in her direction. We get to the baggage carousel, we're side by side. I start chatting to her. I'll be honest with you, I was doing quite well for a man that smelt quite badly. 10 minutes in, I suddenly remembered I didn't have a chuffing suitcase. There is no dignity whatsoever in chatting up a girl at an international airport baggage carousel and then walking away empty-handed with a simple, got to go now, okay, fine. I got in a taxi, the nearest taxi said, take me to a hotel, any hotel, please. I'm on holiday, apparently. I want to see the sights. He took me to this miserable little place. Nothing was open that day. Nothing was going on. It was late at night and it was New Year's Day. I needed things. I needed a change of clothes. I've been wearing the same clothes since last year. Nothing was open. Nothing was available. Nothing. I needed something to eat. Nothing was available. No restaurants were open. Not even room service in the hotel. I was going mad. Eventually, I went for a walk. About 30 minutes from the hotel, I found a 24-hour garage. I bought the only things that were left on their shelves that I could afford, understand, and consume. I promise you this is the truth, and this is a genuinely low ebb in my life. I ended New Year's Day 2003, naked, in a hotel room in Washington, D.C., eating a pot noodle with a toothbrush. That is not the start of my dream holiday. That is a nightmare brought to life for you there and then. And I apologise here and now for the image that is currently floating through your mind. But it didn't happen to you, did it? It happened to me. I got up the next day, I went to look at the statues and the monuments that this city holds. Oh, my life. If you're from Washington, I apologise. I know it's unlikely, but you might be. If you are, I apologise. It was the ugliest, rudest, dirtiest, smelliest, most rat-infested, litter-strewn, impolite hole I have ever had the misfortune to visit. No one was nice in that city. Not one person in Washington, D.C. that day said hello, goodbye, please, thank you. Not even have a nice day to me in shops and cafes. I was going mad. I need other people. I feast on other people. Without other people, life is insufferable to me. I couldn't cope with this. The nearest I came to making a friend in Washington that day was when one man tried to mug me twice. With a 20-minute interval. I was going mad. I need other people. If only I knew somebody somewhere in this godforsaken hole of a city. And then I realised I sort of do. David Harris. Unicyclist Periscopes, Washington, D.C. He's here, isn't he? We wrote all those emails to each other when I was in France, yeah. That's friendship, isn't it? 6 or 7 emails. It's got to be, yeah, surely. It's got to do the job. It's the nearest thing I've got for thousands of miles, isn't it? I got into the hotel business centre, got onto their computer, found the website again, found his email address again, sent him another email saying, look, you might not remember this, but late last year I sent you an email to tell you that you are a Googlewhack. I don't want you to feel guilty, but you are the reason I'm now having a miserable time in Washington, D.C. I'm here for a week. If at any time during that week you've got an hour to spare, you want to have a meal or a drink, it is my treat in return for you showing me that human kindness. If you think I'm taking the piss, I apologise, please ignore me. If you think I'm intruding on your life, I apologise, please ignore me. The truth is, I'm lonely. This is my number at the hotel, this is my email address, and I'll leave the rest to you. Dave, send. God love him. He rang me at the hotel 20 minutes later saying, look, I don't start work for another day. How about tomorrow morning I'll come by, pick you up and go and have breakfast? Yes, I bit his hand off. What a lovely, gorgeous, welcoming thing to do. We did, if you don't believe me. There we are. Incidentally, that's not an over-keen waitress. That's his wife, Danielle. Now, David and Danielle, it turns out, are Australian. They loved meeting me because I'm not American either. Oh, almost the first thing they said. Danielle, she went, you're all right. You don't like Washington. You're only here for a week. We've got to fucking live here. Breakfast flew by. All we did was trash Washington for the ugly, rude, despicable, rat-infested, litter-strewn hole that it was wonderful. Got it all out of our systems. All of a sudden, Danielle stands up and, I'm really sorry. I'm running late. I didn't realise I've not been watching the time. It's flown, hasn't it? I've got to run, Dave. I've got a pottery lesson to go to. I'm not being rude. I've got to go. I'm sorry. Look, if you're still around in a couple of hours, why don't we all have lunch together? Oh. I love these people. Breakfast starts at 9:30. At 11:30, they're planning lunch in 2 hours. I'll have a day like that with any tosser any time, absolutely. Off she goes to a pottery lesson. Myself and her husband David potter around the city, go and see some more statues and monuments and the like, and then we all meet up in this restaurant later. Danielle comes in maybe 2 minutes after myself and David. First thing she does, she comes up to me going, I got you a present. Oh, I love you. Only met me this morning, you've got me a present. Ooh. Then she showed it to me. It's an ugly little piece of shit. I don't rightly know what animal that's supposed to be, really. I mean, your first guess, you'd say it was a bird. I mean, it's got a beak there, hasn't it? Yeah, absolutely. But, oh, no. No wings, not even pretend sewn-on wings you might expect. No, no, no. It's only got 2 limbs, 2 little feet at the back there. If that was a living creature, that couldn't propel itself on land, air or water, could it? That's going to fall flat on its face, whatever it tries to do. Probably explains the rather pinched and ugly I fell on my face expression they've given it there. Blue Christmas hat, wrong colour for the garment, say I. That is an ugly little piece of shit. All of a sudden, I'm thrust into that rather awkward, difficult social situation where I've got to try and appear grateful for something, even though I clearly can't muster any genuine gratitude. That absolute, isn't that? That is just the most... Hello, hello. And I look up and I can see a little glint in her eye and a little smirk in her smile. I thought, she knows this is shit. I'm being tested here. This is a question of whether or not I am brave enough to acknowledge that I think it's shit, given that these are my only 2 friends in the whole of this godforsaken city. And after a while, I thought, I've got no choice. I'm going to have to go for this. I'm sorry, Danielle, this is shit. She went, I know it is, isn't it? Look at that, it's shit. So why did you get it for me, then? She said, take a look at the label. So I did. It's a teeny Christmas Google. She said I couldn't believe it. I was walking away from my pottery lesson towards this restaurant. I was running late, I didn't want anything. I've never been in this shop before, and for some reason, I stepped into a shop. I stood there in the doorway going, Danielle, you've gone mad. You've walked into a shop you don't want to walk into. What's going on? I looked to my left. I saw a whole shelf of these. I thought, my, they're remarkably ugly pieces of shit. I picked one up. I thought, what are you doing? You've walked into a shop you don't want to walk into. Now you're picking up an object you've already acknowledged to yourself you think is shit. You're going mad, girl. And then I saw the label. I thought, this is amazing. You came into our lives this morning because of Google, and there I am randomly holding a Google. How could I not get this for you? It's a sign from above, surely. And she's right, I'd have bought this for me as well under the same circumstances. But crucially, this is the moment the conversation turned. All morning, all we talked about was Washington and how horrible we all thought it was. Now we start talking about Google and therefore Googlewhacking. And her husband, David, the physicist, his brain clicks back into physicist gear. He's off again. Yes, I've been thinking about this Googlewhacking, Dave, ever since you first got in touch. Yes, I've got an idea about how to find them, actually, yeah. Hey, do you know set theory, Dave? You don't. Let's have another coffee, I'll explain it. Here we go. He talked for an hour, I didn't understand a word. All I know is by the end of it, he's going, that's my theory, Dave, it should work. I need to get a computer onto this. I've not written it down, it's in my head, let's do it now. I tell you what, the office isn't far away, I've got a car outside, we can break in. Come on, let's go. We jump in his car, we drive to the offices of the American Physical Society, we get in through means unknown. He starts trying to find himself a Googlewhack. I have no idea what his theory was. All I know is that to begin with, I was far from impressed. He starts putting in random pairs of words. Seismic pedestrian, 13,800 hits. Oscilloscope pedestrian, 287 hits. Oscilloscope pedestrianised, 0. Too far. Laser pedestrian, 14,800 hits. Laser pedestrian eyes. Oh, yes, he got one eventually, didn't he? Of course he did. Physicist, clever chap, absolutely. And there it is for you there, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and you'd think he'd be happy with that, but he wasn't. No. He thought, no, I want to make this work better. That theory took too long. It's not a good theory. He took his theory apart. He put his theory back together again. He gave it another go. 2 goes it took him, 2 goes, and he landed straight at coelacanth sharpener. Oh, he was delighted with that, he really was. Coelacanth sharpener led to a website called wallytown.com. On wallytown.com, there was an email address blinking away for a man called Warren. He said, come on, let's tell Warren that he's a Googlewhack. So we did. But we didn't send him a cryptic email saying, hello, Warren, did you know that you are a Googlewhack? We sent him an email that explained everything. We told him who we were, we told him what we were doing, we told him what Googlewhacking was, and we told him what the 2 words were, coelacanth and sharpener. You'd think everything was there. But somehow, I understand we weren't very good. We weren't very good at explaining it. I know we weren't clear to him because he didn't understand our explanation. I know that because he wrote back to me saying, what on earth were you actually looking for? What on God's green earth made you put coelacanth sharpener into a search engine? And we wrote back saying we weren't looking for a coelacanth sharpener, were we? We were looking for a Googlewhack. It's a game that people play, that's all it is. He went, oh, I see, right, it's a game, I understand now, right, well, fine. Right, what did you say, right? In which case, why are you playing that game? And I wrote back to him saying, well, my name's Dave, I live in London, turns out I'm a Googlewhack. Right now, I've accidentally ended up in Washington, but I've bumped into David, he's also a Googlewhack. Because we're both Googlewhacks, it's kind of come up in conversation, and now he's trying to find one. And he wrote back to me saying, so why are you in Washington? And I wrote back saying, well, there's this man in France. And basically, 6 or 7 emails later, I've explained everything to him. I mean, literally everything you've had this evening that is pertinent to this story, he got in these emails. But again, I don't think I was clear. In fact, again, I know I wasn't, because this time he wrote back saying, OK, right, fine, I've got this. Fine, my name's Warren, I live in Boston, I'm having a party tomorrow, you can stay over if you like. No, that's not what I'm trying to do at all, no. And I'm turning to David and I go, what am I supposed to do? This is a complete stranger that I've met on the internet. He's invited me to go to his house and stay over for the night for a party. I'm sure my mum told me not to do that kind of thing. And David said, I think you should go. What do you mean you think I should go? He said, think about it. You don't like Washington. You're right not to. It's a horrible place. Boston, on the other hand, is fantastic. You'll have a great time in Boston. It's a wonderful city. Hey, I tell you what, in this day and age, I'll bet you can get a flight from Washington to Boston for less money than it costs you to spend the night in a Washington hotel. You'll save money by making that flight. He's offering to put you up, and when you get there, party! Yeah? Everyone likes a party. He's right, I do. How does he know these things about me? And we looked it up, and it was cheaper to fly from Washington to Boston than it was to stay a night in the hotel. That's better than a 2-pence flight to France. I'm earning on this journey. So I did. I flew to Boston. If you don't believe me, there's my boarding card, and there I am, in Boston. Here's Warren, the man I met in Boston. Lovely, lovely fella. He came to pick me up at the airport because he lives quite far out. I got in his car. I'm thinking, he is a bit older than I was expecting. Mind you, he's clearly going to be some kind of party animal, isn't he? Look at the evidence. He's invited a complete stranger to spend the night at his house for no reason and at no notice whatsoever. He's clearly up for anything. Either that or I'm about to lose a kidney. Anyway, we're in the car, we're driving along, 4-foot snowdrifts, you could lose a body, I'm getting scared, he's chatting away. He says to me, oh, Dave, you're going to love this party. We do this every year. First Saturday after Christmas. It's my girlfriend's family. Oh, there's tension in my belly there. There's me in that car thinking, party! Oh, no, party, that's where I was going there. That is a completely different kind of party. I've never been more English and refined and polite in all my life. Give me 5 glasses of wine, I'm dancing with Grandma. These are the most wonderful, welcoming, friendly souls I've ever encountered in all my days. I loved this party. I ended this party in the basement playing table tennis with a 9-year-old boy. That hasn't happened to me since I was 9. I was loving it, playing a bit of ping pong. Warren's upstairs, he shouts down to me, Dave, I've got something important to show you. Can't come right now, Warren, I'm playing an important game of ping pong. This is more important, Dave, come up now. OK, you're the winner. I ran upstairs into the study. What is it, Warren, what have you done? He said, I've done it. I've got you your 2 Googlewhacks. I didn't ask you to find me any Googlewhacks. What on God's green earth makes you think that I am trying to meet Googlewhacks? He said the fact that you're in fucking Boston. I said, right. 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 You're wrong. But at least it makes sense. Go on then, what have you found? Show me your Googlewhacks. He was so thrilled with himself. He'd found ammonite Googleplex, and there it is for you there, and bamboozled panfish. Oh, yeah, absolutely, and there, that one is for you there. And I said, well done, Warren, you're a very clever man. They're very beautiful Googlewhacks. They are very good. Now, please, don't ask me to email these two people. That leads to trouble. He said, it's too late, I've already emailed them. What do you mean you've already emailed them? He said, I had to call you upstairs quickly. One of them's about to ring. What do you mean one of them's about to ring? And then the phone started ringing. He went, there you go, Dave, that's for you. I said, well, who the hell is it? I said, well, who the hell is it? He said, it's Ammonite Googleplex. I said, what the hell's his name? He said, it's Jerry. I went, right, fine. Hello? Is that Jerry? He went, yeah. Right. He said, is that Dave? I said, yeah. He went, so Dave, do you want to come and meet me then? No. Not really, Jerry, no. He went, oh. You wanted to meet all the others? No, I didn't, Jerry. I have met all the others. It's not the same thing. I didn't want to. I just have. Don't you understand? He said, well, why don't you want to come and meet me? Then I'm saying, Jerry, I don't even know where you live. He said, I live in Columbus. I said, Jerry, I don't know where Columbus is. He said, it's in Ohio. I said, Jerry, I don't know where Ohio is because I don't. I'm turning to Warren in the office going, Warren, help me out here, please. Tell me where the hell is Columbus, Ohio? He went, well, seeing as you're asking, it's not a straight line, you know. It's not as the crow flies, but it's sort of on your way back to Washington. Is it really? He went, yeah. I looked up some flights in case you're interested. Right, fine, okay, I'll do it. Okay, hello, Jerry, yes, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye. 3 reasons for saying yes. Number 1, it was easier. Number 2, my international fridge magnet collection was coming on in leaps and bounds. Number 3, I thought it would be fun. I was on holiday. It was a lousy holiday by myself in Washington, D.C., wasn't it? I was having a lousy time. The minute I started meeting these people, every day I spent with one of them was a day of fun, a day of joy. I thought, I'll owe myself one of those, don't I? I'll have another one of those. Why not? I'm on holiday. I owe myself that much, don't I? So I did. I flew to Columbus the next day. If you don't believe me, there's my boarding card. And there's Jerry, the man I met in Columbus. Lovely man, Jerry. Fantastic. I said to him straight away, Jerry, I don't want to talk about Googlewhacking. That has got out of control. He said, fine. He took me to an alternative music night. That's his bag. We both got a bit squiffy. He went home. I went to a hotel. That was the end of that. In the morning, I get up, taxi from the hotel to the airport. I fly from Columbus back into Washington, where I've got a 4-hour layover before my flight back to England. 4 hours of thinking time there. 4 hours of thinking time in which I found myself thinking, my life, that was a strange new year, wasn't it? I've done some travelling this year already, haven't I? Oh, it's only a week old. What I've done there is 8,236 miles. What I've done there is I've travelled from... Shit, okay, I'll explain. I've made a bit of a mistake here. I got this map off the internet and I've been using it for a while and I've never liked it. I was doing it in a hurry when I got it and it's a bit sort of squashed and distorted and not quite what the world really looks like. You know what I mean? And every time I put it on the screen, I think, oh God, now there's another few hundred people think that's what I think the world looks like. And especially because we're recording this one, I thought, well, I'm going to get it right for tonight, so I changed it earlier on today. But I've obviously forgotten to actually delete this slide. So my apologies, my mistake. This is more what we had at school, obviously. That's more like it. Now, what's happened there? What's happened there is I've travelled, albeit this bit in the year before, out to the south of France. Then New Year's Day, off I go to Washington, Washington to Boston, Boston to Columbus, and Columbus back into Washington again. In doing that, I've met several Googlewhacks. Dork Turnspit came to meet me. He found unconstructive superegos. He found Dave Gorman dies and unicyclist periscopes. He found laser pedestrian eyes and coelacanth sharpener. He found ammonite Googleplex and bamboozled panfish, and I've now met ammonite Googleplex as well. 5 in a row. Halfway. Halfway, and I haven't even tried. Imagine being that good at something that you're not trying to do. In my experience, when I try to do things, I normally get a bit better at them. Oh, I reckon I'd finish this in a week, couldn't I? I've got halfway. It's only taken me about a week to do that much. If I try, it's going to be easier. Halfway, yeah, I'll do that. Hey, money in the bank. Jay doesn't need to know what I'm spending it on, does he? I can write that novel when I come back. That's all right, yeah. Hey, imagine going to France and telling David Gorman I'd actually bloody done it. Hey, that'd be a laugh, wouldn't it? Hey, imagine a look at it. But then again, imagine telling him I'd only got 5 in a row. He wouldn't believe me that I'd done it by accident, would he? He wouldn't believe me that this was a mistake. He'd think I was doing it on purpose. If you're trying, halfway is just another word for failure. You try telling your friends that you accidentally ran the first half of the London Marathon. They won't believe you, will they? If you're going, I thought it was a march. I went along with it. It was a fast march, I'll tell you. They won't believe you. No, they won't. That's how I felt all of a sudden. I didn't know I was playing the game. I feel like I'm losing the game. Oh, I'm jet-lagged to buggery. I haven't slept for a week. A little devil popped up on my shoulder going, go on. Give it a go. But a little angel popped up on my other shoulder going, yeah, go on. Give it a go. And I thought, I will do. I bloody will do. I will. I ran to a payphone there and then in the airport. I rang Jerry back in Columbus. Jerry, it's Dave from last night. I know it's going to sound a bit strange. I need you to do me a favour. I need you to find me 2 Googlewhacks. He said, that is strange. I got in late last night. I was a bit drunk. I found 3. I said, well done, Jerry. Drunk is clearly a good tactic. Just give me the first 2, will you? He said, I don't know what they are, Dave. They're on the computer. They're in the archive. I need to go and look it up. I haven't got time for this, Jerry, and my flight leaves in 20 minutes. I'm meant to be sitting in that chair right now. Email them to me. I'll get them when I get home. I ran. I got my flight. I flew from Washington to London. I got in. I checked my email. Jerry had done his job. He'd found me his 2 Googlewhacks. The first one of his that I looked up, Jeremiah's conifer. This one led to an organisation called integrityusa.org, a witness of God's inclusive love to the Episcopal Church and the gay, lesbian, bisexual and transgender community, based in Washington, D.C. This is a measure of how committed I was to this idea now. I didn't want to go to Washington, did I? But I was prepared to if that's where number 6 is hiding, because I know you can't get to 10 without going through 6. That's how numbers work. So I sat down and I wrote them an email. Maybe it was the power of my negative thinking towards our home city. Maybe it's just the magnetism of the world and the way it spanned that day. All I know is that my email to these people bounced straight back to me with an error message saying it was no longer a working address. I had no other way of getting in touch with them. It was a dead end. OK, well, I've got another one, haven't I? I suppose that's why you find 2, so you've got an alternative. What's the other one that Jerry had found? He'd also found alligator peristyles. This one, a collection of essays about someone's travels in India. But it doesn't say whose essays. It doesn't say where they live. They could be anyone. They could be American, English, they could be Australian, they could be Indian, for all I know. There are no clues on this website. I was infuriated. I got 5 in a row without lifting a finger. The moment I actually physically tried to make this happen for myself, I get 2 dead ends. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. No, you get in my way, I get even more determined to go through you. That's my nature. I thought, I know. I'll have a look at the loose ends. I'll have a look at laser pedestrian eyes. I'll have a look at bamboozled panfish. If I can get one of them to come good for me, I'm going round the obstacle, aren't I? Bamboozled panfish, 5 in a row, and I'm going round the obstacle. Let's see what I can do. I looked at every single one of these. Every single one of these turned out to be a dead end for one reason or another, apart from rarebit nutters. That one turned out to be a bunch of mini drivers in Wales. In particular, in Llandulus in North Wales, 235 miles from home. Now, they didn't actually write back to my email saying, yes, do come and meet us. They didn't have to, though, because their website told me where they were. They have public meetings. I am a member of the public. I can attend a public meeting. I've got a car, it's not a Mini, but it'll do. I got in that car, I made that drive. I'm very glad I did, because in Llandulus, I met Kelvin, who's one of the rarebit nutters. From there, I travelled all the way to Columbus, Ohio again, where I met Ken Fuzzigen, also known as Bushranger Doublespeed. From there, I travelled on to Seattle, where I met Tom and Lisa, also known as Hippocampi Wallpaper. From there, all the way back to London, where I met Tritomella, also known as Bibliophilic Sandwiched. And from there, all the way to San Diego, Dwayne T. Gish, also known as Dripstone Ingalls. From there, all the way to Holland, Nina Adams, also known as Verandas Plectrums. And from there, all the way back back to LA, where I met Wendy Mogul, also known as psychosomatic rambunctiousness. From there, all the way to Austin, Texas, Byron Reese, also known as pomegranate filibusters, and I'll wager that that is the most expensive 20 seconds of a one-man show you've ever fucking seen. What I've done there is an awful lot of travelling. What I've done there in little under 2 weeks is 29,408 miles. In doing all that travelling, I've met several Googlewhacks. 8 of them you might have been counting. You might well be sitting in your chairs now thinking, come on, Dave, 8 in a row, you're nearly there, 2 more, come on. And you would be wrong to think that. Because yes, I'd met 8, but no, they weren't all connected to each other in one long line. They were 2 different chains. In Wales, I met the Rarebit Nutters. They found me 2 Googlewhacks, both of whom agreed to meet me. I followed both of those chains. One chain went to 4 in a row, one chain went to 5 in a row, and there they both died. The 4 in a row died with Dripstone Ingalls in the top corner for you there. A man called Dwayne T. Gish, there he is for you there. 81 years of age, Dwayne T. Gish. He didn't actually write back to me. His secretary did, saying Dr. Gish will be happy to meet you. On that basis alone, I got on a plane, I flew all the way from London to San Diego, got a tram from San Diego out to the suburb of Santee, where Dr. Gish came to pick me up in his car and take me back to the office. Here I am with Dr. Gish inside that office, here I am outside the office, the Institute for Creation Research. Creationism, quite a well-known point of view in America, not very well known in this country, I find, so I feel the need to explain it for anyone who might not have heard of it. Creationists believe that evolution does not happen, has never happened, and is never going to happen. They believe that everything on this earth, us, animals, plants, were all created by a supreme being that may or may not be God. They believe, most of them, that the Bible is a literal text. They therefore believe that every single one of us is a descendant of Adam and Eve, none of us have evolved from monkeys. Most of them believe that the world is only 6,000 years old, not billions of years old, as those pesky scientists would have us believe, with their evidence. Now, I happen to believe that this is a load of nonsense. I believe it is dogmatic, wrong-headed poppycock. I think it is cock of the poppiest variety. But that's okay, I don't mind. I'm sure if you examine my beliefs, you will find some poppycock. If you examine my friends' beliefs, you'll find the same. That's okay, you can believe in any old kind of poppycock you want to, so long as you're nice to each other. That's all I care about. All I wanted was for this man to find me some Googlewhacks. Sadly, his secretary had neglected to pass on the Googlewhacking nature of my inquiry. As far as Dr. Gish was concerned, I was there to learn more about creationism. He's 81 years of age. He's never met anyone, I don't think, who didn't want to know more about it. So I think, well, fine, I'll go along with it. I can't dissuade him at his years, can I? Fine, I'll go along. I'll be a good student. I'll nod. I'll agree. I'll go with it. And when he thinks I'm his friend, then I'll skillfully segue the conversation into Googlewhacking. We both go away from the encounter with what we wanted. No harm done. So I let him talk. He is brilliant. He's witty and warm and wise and friendly and welcoming and knowledgeable and educated and erudite and almost always wrong. In my opinion. He's written loads of books. He gave me a few books to take away. I wish I could talk to you for hours about any of these. They're all aimed at different markets. They all say basically the same thing. This one's my favourite, this one. It's actually not really a book, it's a pamphlet. I suppose that's why it's my favourite. There's less of it, really. It's aimed at students, high school and university students. It's actually a cartoon. Not only did he write this cartoon, he stars in this cartoon. How beautiful is this? And now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker of the evening, Dr. Dwayne T. Gish. And there he is again and again and again in all these pictures. Does anything strike you as odd about these pictures? Can I remind you that this is what he looks like? He appears to have cast Ben Affleck as himself in this cartoon. This is what this should look like here. Now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker of the evening, Dr. Dwayne T. That's what that should look like. This is preposterous, but I like him because he's preposterous. Preposterous people are very good company as far as I'm concerned. I was having a wonderful time with this man. But the truth is, I did grow to dislike him, and I think that's an interesting thing for this story. He is the only person in this story that I genuinely ended up, I can't say that I liked. And I should explain the reasons. I didn't dislike him because he's a creationist. In fact, somebody else that I met on this journey is also a creationist, and we got on like a house on fire. It isn't that. I'll explain. He was trying to explain creationism to me, and he suddenly quoted the second law of thermodynamics. Now, for an odd reason involving a deceased musical double act and a great physics teacher, I happen to know the second law of thermodynamics. And Dr. Gish didn't say all of it. He only said a part of it. And then he said that the second law of thermodynamics means that evolution is not possible. And that's not true. And I think with his qualifications, he's got a very good degree in biochemistry from a very good university in the States. He knows his science. He's a real scientist. I think that's wrong of him to only quote part of the law and use it to say something which I don't believe is true. Now, I'll tell you what he said. This is the second law of thermodynamics. I know you came for a night at the theatre and not a science lesson. I'm not going to tell you what that means. What I am going to tell you is that that is the version of the law that Dr. Gish told me. Now, you might think that those 4 words can't possibly be important, but in that version of the law, evolution is impossible, and in this version, it's not. I think that's important. I think that's wrong of him to do that. I didn't like him for doing that. And to begin with, I thought, well, it's a slip of the tongue. He's an old man. He didn't know what he was saying. He's forgotten a bit. I'm not really following the science. And then I turned the page of this pamphlet and saw it there. That is not, as far as I understand it, the real version of the second law of thermodynamics. If it is, it's certainly a very twisted definition of that. It's not fair of him to do that. And I'd like to tell you that this is the reason I didn't like this man, because I believe that to be a good reason for not liking that man. But the truth, ladies and gentlemen, the real reason I didn't like that man, is because he didn't find me any sodding Googlewhacks. He couldn't do it. It was not possible. I tried to explain it to him, I really did, but he's an 81-year-old man. I don't think he really knows what the internet is. I couldn't persuade him to come with me to the computer. It was impossible. I don't know, imagine trying to telephone your grandmother and over the telephone explain to your grandmother how to set the video recorder if you knew that she didn't have a video recorder, but she did have a cake. That is how difficult a message this was to convey. After an hour of trying and failing, I had no choice but to walk away, defeated, knowing that chain died there and then there was nothing I could do to revive it. I was down, but I wasn't out. I still had the other chain on the go, the one that sadly did end a few days later with Byron there in Austin, Texas, chomping on his cigar. Lovely man Byron, he didn't let me down. He found me 2 Googlewhacks, all right, absolutely. It's just that the 2 Googlewhacks he found me turned out to be dead ends, as did so many of the others that had been found for me along the way. And that means it's all over. There's nothing on that screen. There's no hope. There's nothing. It's just dead ends and people I've already met. I was heartbroken. I was down. I had a bit of a personal crisis in Austin, Texas. I found myself in that hotel room looking into the mirror thinking, do you know what? That beard is a lie. You grew that beard in order to announce to the world that you were writing a novel. You grew that beard in order to announce to the world that you were leaving these childish, idiotic quests behind you. You grew that beard in order to announce to the world that you are a grown-up. Have you written 1 word of that novel? No, you sodding haven't. Have you left these childish quests behind you? Evidently not. You find yourself in Austin, Texas, having failed to find any Googlewhacks. You're an idiot. You're a child. You are clearly genetically programmed to live some kind of childish, idiotic life. Fine. Go ahead and live that life, but live it honestly. Remove that beard. Ring Jake. Tell him you're not writing that novel. Stop lying to yourself and to the rest of the world about who you are and what you could be. I went into town to get a disposable razor, came back to the hotel and got ready to shave this beard off. I couldn't quite do it. If you've ever had a full beard, you'll understand what I'm saying. You can't just shave one off. You've got to leave patterns and shapes. This is your chance to experiment with new looks. You might have wondered all your life, what does a big gay biker Mo look like? Hit the tash, Abe Lincoln underbeard. Now is your chance to give it a go. You can't do them all, though, can you? You do one, you've ruined another. They contradict, they overlap. I had pen and paper out. I was drawing faces, filling in beards. I was going mental is what I was doing. Too many ideas bouncing around inside one tiny cranium. Stop it! You're going mad! Part 1, you are upset. You tried to do something, meet 10 Googlewhacks in a row, you failed to do it, and now you're upset. Fine, go out, get drunk, drown your sorrows, deal with it like a man. Dealt with. Part 2, in your upset, you've discovered that this is a lie. You're not who you want to be. Fine, ring Jake, remove the beard, deal with all of that, but do it tomorrow when you're no longer upset. Go and get the drink, go and get that out of your head, deal with it. Into town I go. Austin, Texas, bit of a party town. 6th Street, Austin, the party street. Every building on that street appears to be a bar as far as I can tell. I walk up to the first bar, bouncer steps in my way. Where do you think you're going? Just come in for a quiet drink. Where's your picture ID? I don't carry picture ID, I'm British, we don't really need it at home. Why do I need picture ID? You might not be 21. Look at me, look at my grizzled, gnarled, bearded, 31-year-old face. Use your common sense. I haven't got any common sense. Of course you haven't, you're a bouncer and you're American. Right, fine, cool. I tried every single bar on that street. Not one of them would let me come in without picture ID. I was going mad. And then I realised, I have got some ID, haven't I? Back at my hotel, I've got my passport, haven't I? That's official ID, that'll do the job. Back to the hotel I go, get the passport and come out to get drunk. You probably know me well enough by now, ladies and gentlemen, to work out for yourselves that it's not necessarily wise for me to get drunk while in possession of my passport. If I get drunk in possession of my passport, I don't always know which hemisphere I'm going to wake up in. Imagine the joy in my heart when I woke up the next morning in Austin, Texas, in my own hotel room and everything. Oh, I was delighted. I skipped out of bed. I thought, oh, that's a very strange hangover you've got this morning. My head is okay. My stomach? Well, it's turning, but it's not the fast cycle. That's okay. Most of this hangover appears to be in my arm. I've never had a hangover in my arm before. I need to investigate that, don't I? I went through to the bathroom, I looked in the mirror, and this is what I saw, this is what I saw, this is what I saw, this is what I saw. What the fuck have I done to myself now? What the fuck have I done to myself now? Don't fucking applaud me for ruining my own life! What the fuck have I done now? Oh, you can imagine me on 6th Street now, can't you? I've got my ID now, haven't I? I've got my driver's license now. What the fuck have I done to my... Who the fuck is that? That's what I look like there. Not that there, not that. That isn't even my fucking birthday. That is my birthday if you're American, which I'm not. To my English eyes, that says the 3rd of fucking February. I'm the 2nd of fucking March. I've got the wrong birthday and a freak's face on my arm for the rest of my fucking life. Well, there's no need getting a fucking fridge magnet from Austin, Texas now, is there? I think you'll find I've got a souvenir that lasts me for quite some time from that journey. What the fuck have I done? Who the fuck is that there? Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got that on your arm, and I have, you can hardly shave that off your face, can you? At least he's got a red beard, it might be meant to be me. If I shave this off, who the fuck's that then? This was done to me by a man called Boo Boo. I only know that because I found this receipt in my wallet. A fucking receipt. Imagine being so drunk you would do that to yourself, but so self-employed you would ask for a fucking receipt. A receipt? What was I going to do? Take it back? I've ruined my life. I've trapped myself in my beard for the rest of my life. I can't ring Jacob now and tell him I'm not this man. I've got to be this man for the rest of my life. I couldn't go back home. I couldn't go home and say to my friends, this is what I've done with the month of January. I couldn't go home and tell people what I'd done because that would involve telling me what I'd done, and I couldn't really face what I'd done to my own life. I couldn't stay in Austin, Texas. That place is trouble. Oh, I didn't know what to do. I just wanted to run away and hide and cry and think and not be me and not be living that life there and then. I didn't know what to do. And then I suddenly realised I got one friend in America who doesn't know my friends back here. I can ring her. So I did. I rang Julie. Julie's a wonderful friend of mine. I've known her for years. She lives in LA. I rang Julie saying, Julie, I don't know what to do. I'm out of my depth. It's all gone wrong, Julie. Life's just turned to shit. And Julie's going, Dave, this isn't you. You don't normally sound like this. Please, get on a plane and come to Los Angeles and stay with me until you're you again. And I did. I flew all the way to LA and I stayed with Julie, and she looked after me like the angel that she is. And she kept saying to me, Dave, what is wrong? And I couldn't tell her about that. I couldn't tell anyone about that for weeks on end. For weeks on end, that was between me and Boo Boo. All I could tell her about was the Googlewhacking still there inside, eating me up. I'm saying, Julie, I didn't mean it to start. It started and I couldn't stop it. I tried to stop it, Julie, but it wouldn't. And then it stopped and I didn't want it to, and I can't start it again, and I don't know what I'm doing, Julie. I got a 4 in a row and a 5 in a row, and all of these were dead ends, and I don't know what to do next. Before that, I got a 5 in a row, and all of these are dead ends as well, Julie. I don't know what I'm doing. And Julie's saying to me, Dave, this does not make sense. You're telling me that everyone is allowed to find you 2 Googlewhacks. Well, I can see. He found you 2, and he found you 2, and he found you 2, and he found you 2. So why is that one only supposed to find you 1? And she's right. I'm back in the fucking saddle. This game is still alive. And if the game is still alive, I can still be the winner. And if I can be the winner, I might be able to claw some dignity out of this situation. And right now, there's precious little of that knocking around. I got straight on Julie's computer. I emailed Marcus in Birmingham, the woman and dog man. Marcus, please, 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 you owe me one more thing. One more Googlewhack, please, as soon as you can. And God love that man. He came back within 24 hours with a beauty. How could you not love the man who is capable of finding hydroxyurea? Oh, yes. And here it is for you there, the Antarctic Journal. The Antarctic Sodding Journal of Dr. M. Dale Stokes. My last thread of hope keeping this game alive is the Antarctic Journal. Oh, Doctor, I had no idea if it was possible for a regular Joe like me to just go to the Antarctic. I didn't have any choice, though, did I? He's my last hope. If I meet him, it's alive. If I don't, it's dead. I emailed Dr. M. Dale Stokes and said, Dr. M. Dale Stokes, please, this is my story. Now that you know my story, please tell me I'm allowed to come and meet you. But please, if you tell me I'm allowed to come and meet you, you're going to have to tell me how I go about coming to meet you. And God love this man. He wrote back again within 24 hours saying, fine, you are allowed to come and meet me. This is how you do it. And I did it. I travelled all the way from LA, where I was staying with Julie, all the way to San Diego, where he now lives and works at the university. There he is. He's a wonderful man. I went by train as it goes. Lovely fella. Sat me down, made me a drink, said, so, Dave, you enjoying San Diego? I said, I am, Dale. It's a lovely town. He said, you've been here before, Dave? I said, you know what? I was here about a week ago. He went, no, really? What were you doing? I said, I was meeting another Googlewhack. No, really? What was he like? Bit weird, to be honest. He was an 81-year-old creationist. No, really? God, I expect he was one of Dr. Gish's lot. Just one of his lot. It was Dr. Gish. You've met Dr. Yes, what's he like? He wears a wig. Really fantastic. Dale got so excited. He hates Dr. Gish. Oh, when I was a student, I wanted to go and trash that man's museum. He's a nasty piece of work. I should have done it when I was a kid. I can't do it now. I'm an academic. It's against the rules. Oh, you're going to love this. Come with me, come with me. We ran to Dale's office. In his office, in a filing cabinet, for reasons I don't quite understand, he's kept every essay he's ever written in his academic career. He's now a doctor. He went into this cabinet. He came out with it 2 minutes later. An essay he'd written 15 years earlier. This essay here, Analysis of a Creationist Pamphlet and Evidence for Evolution by Dale Stokes, third-year biology homework. I started reading that essay. Which pamphlet do you think he was analysing? Only that sodding pamphlet there. I start reading Dale's analysis of it and I see the following sentence. Dr. Gish's twisted definition of the second law of thermodynamics. Oh, we're soulmates now, me and Dale. Oh, united. United by a common enemy now, me and Dale. Absolutely, we both hate Dr. Gish. He hates him for his creationist views, I hate him for his failure to Googlewhack, but we both hate him all the same. And I'm explaining to Dale, I think this is amazing. You and Dr. Gish are the two most diametrically opposed human beings I've ever encountered on this planet. This is amazing. You are his opposite. You are his nemesis. I've never met a man's nemesis before. Oh, you're hot, he's cold, you're black, he's white, you're Batman, he is the Joker. This is remarkable. Hey, I'll tell you something else about Dr. Gish. He could not Googlewhack. Can you? You've never seen a more motivated Googlewhacker in all your life. I tell you, 30 seconds, 2 Googlewhacks popped up like toast. It was remarkable. He's a lovely, lovely man. He is hydroxyurea. He found me 2. One of the 2 that he found me, ace-high lawnmowers. That took me all the way to Memphis, where I met Ernie McCracken. Ernie McCracken found me Grandmaster Sticklebacks, taking me all the way to London, where I met Peter Rowlands. Peter Rowlands found me Arctic Scriveners, taking me all the way back to Seattle, where I met Chris and John. Chris and John found me Baptized Slurry, taking me all the way to Dorset, where I met John Palmer. John Palmer found me Yo-Yo Trip-Tip, taking me all the way to China, where I met Robert Burnell, who found me Langus nasturtium and Lango dandelions. That is a very good run. That is 7 in a row and 2 potential number 8s. 2 potential number 8s leads to 4 potential number 9s, leads to 8 potential number 10s. Surely I've got a good chance of winning with 8 potential number 10s. But to have all of that potential, I need the 2 number 8s to come good first. I wanted them both. I looked them both up with a fire in my belly. Langer's nasturtium went through to a woman called Kathy Burkholder. She wrote back to me saying, fine, if you want to come and meet me, I live in LA, I never leave, so if you come over here, I'll meet you. If you don't, I won't. Simple. Easy for me to do. Plane journey, I've proved that much already. But I wanted them both. I looked up the other one, Langor Dandelions, led to a website about a TV show. A TV show called The Living Edens, Bhutan, Land of the Thunder Dragon, made for the PBS network in America. Who's responsible for this Googlewhack existing? Well, written and produced by a man called Harry Marshall. I'll give him the credit. Can I find his contact details? Not really, kind of. I can find the contact details for the company he must work for. The show is produced by De Villiers Donegan Enterprises, 4401 Connecticut Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. Now, I've gone back to London because if you stay in China for long enough, they make you. And now, I'm looking to fly from London to LA to meet Kathy. Flying from London to LA involves flying over Washington, D.C. If instead of flying over it, I land in it, do one short journey, have half a day in Washington, go to that address. If he's there, I meet him. If he's not, I might be able to track him down. If I can, I've got him. And then I fly to LA, where I know I'll meet Kathy. If I can't find him, I'm still going to go to LA and meet Kathy. Half a day's difference to find out if it's 2 or 1 number 8 seemed to me to be a risk worth taking. It's certainly a risk I took. If you don't believe me, there I am, 4401 Connecticut Avenue Northwest, where the secretary told me that Harry Marshall now lives in Bristol. But she gave me his email address, and that's the thing I wanted most of all. I emailed Harry. I told him my story. He said, fine, you can come and meet me anytime you like. I said, Harry, I'm being honest with you here. I'm in the States already. I've already booked my ticket to LA. I'm going out to meet another number 8. I think it's most sensible if I pursue that chain all the way to 10 if I can. If it falls apart before I get to 10, can I come back to you and meet you at a later date? He said, not a problem. I'm on the bench. I was happy with that. So off I go to LA. If you don't believe me, there I am in LA. There's Kathy Burkholder. She found me pie and uppercuts. That took me all the way to Chicago. There I am in Chicago. There's John F. Kujai. That put me within spitting distance of victory. I needed to meet one of the 2 that John found me. I thought it's just simple. Number 10 should be the easiest one to meet. Numbers 1 through 9, you don't just have to meet them, you have to persuade them to Googlewhack, so they have to want to meet you. Number 10, you don't have to do anything other than meet them. It's over the minute you shake their hand. Even if they write back to me saying, no, I don't want to meet you, please don't come and meet me, if I know where they live. All I've got to do is go to their front door, ring the doorbell, shake their hand and run away into the bushes declaring myself the winner. That's okay. I thought, I'm home and dry. John found me too. I thought it's bound to come good, surely. I got all the way to the brink of victory, only to meet defeat. But there, on the bench in Bristol, Harry Marshall, Langor Dandelions, that's where I'm heading next. There I am in Bristol. There is Harry Marshall. He found me Spendthrift Glaswegians. That took me all the way to Edinburgh. There I am in Edinburgh. There's Eric Laurier, once again, the brink of victory. And Eric really understood exactly how important this was. He said to me, Dave, am I right? You need to meet one of the 2 Googlewhacks that I find? I said, yes. He said, you need to do this before your 32nd birthday. I said, yes. He said, when is your 32nd birthday? I said, not the 3rd of fucking February. It's the 2nd of March. In which case, Dave, I suggest that you're wasting my time. February is nearly over. March is nearly upon us. Why don't you get in your car and start driving down to London and stop wasting my time? Yes, I'm going to go and Googlewhack for you, but I want you to be in the best hub for international transport when I find these whacks. Now go on, get going. So I did. I got in the car, I started driving down the country. Halfway down the country, my mobile phone rang. I looked at the screen, I knew it was Eric. I pulled over and took that call. I had to, it was an emergency. Eric, it's Dave, please tell me you've got the Googlewhacks. Of course I have. Have you got a pen? Of course I have. Give me the Googlewhacks. What have you got? He'd found 2 absolute pearls. How could you not be happy? Spatula denouement and trimarans crimps. I looked them both up. The first one I looked up, spatula denouement, because I thought it'd be a lovely denouement to my story. And it would have been as well. Had it not been a Japanese page with no contact details on it whatsoever, it was useless. It was doing nothing except ruining the lives of the fucking Googlewhackers. That's all that was doing. It was a dead end. But that one, oh, that one filled my heart with joy. Trimaran scripts led me to the Marine Store Chandlery in Malden in Essex, a 41-mile drive from home. After everything I'd put myself through. In January and February of 2003, I travelled 71,014 miles. In the first 8 weeks of 2003, I spent more than 1 week in a plane. In the first 8 weeks of 2003, my average speed was over 50 miles an hour. And now, all I needed was a 41-mile drive into Essex. I've never been happier about making that drive in all my life. Here I am, outside the Marine Store Chandlery, in Malden, in Essex, about to walk through that door, shake the hand of whoever worked there that day and declare myself the winner. I was pumped up, I was excited. I had a couple of days to spare. I was actually going to win with a couple of days to spare. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to share my excitement. I got my mobile phone out. I thought, I'll ring the man who gave this to me, the last man to ring me. I'll ring Eric Laurier in Edinburgh. Eric, it's Dave. I love you for this. I'm about to meet number 10 and it's all down to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You ever need anything from me, I'll be there in a heartbeat for you, Eric. You've got a friend for life. I love you for this. Thank you so much. He's going, this is amazing, Dave. What is it? Which one is it? Which one's number 10? I said, it's trimarans and crimps. And he said, oh. That's not what I said. How could it not be what you said when it is a fucking Googlewhack? I put the two words in a press search, you got one hit. You don't trip over them in the street, you don't drop them behind you like confetti. What do you mean it's not a Googlewhack? It is a Googlewhack. It must be what you said. He said, Dave, I'm being honest. I didn't say trimaran's crimps. I said trimaran scrimps. And he had. It was a sodding Googlewhack. au.geocities.com. I wish I was a minnow. Well, you don't need many clues from me to work out what country that's in, do you? It's in Australia, isn't it? Obviously enough. Here's the website for you there. So, what's this site all about? Well, it's my chance to really work out who I am. Do I want to be A, a straight man with a steady girlfriend, B, a shy voyeur on the fringes of the gay club scene, or C, a minnow? It's a tricky little conundrum in this modern day and age, isn't it? This is a man who lives and works in Sydney. He works in the financial district of Sydney, and at the end of his working day, he goes home to his girlfriend who he lives with and who he loves. His girlfriend knows nothing about this, but once every couple of months, he goes out cruising on the gay club scene. His gay friends know nothing about his straight life. His straight friends know nothing about his gay life. He keeps the two entirely separate. It is only here in his website, that he is honest with the world. He's anonymous, but he says to the world, this is the man that I am. This is the life that I lead. Please tell me what you think of me. And to help you tell him what you think of him, he provides an email address at the foot of the page. You can see it there and even more clearly there. I had an email address that I knew worked, a website that I knew was current, and a city I could point to on an atlas. I still had time to get there. I could still do this. I sat down, I wrote that man an email. But as I wrote that man an email, I knew one thing above all others. I did not have time to wait for his reply. Travelling from London to Sydney takes a day. I didn't have a day to spare in my schedule. If I waited a day and he wrote back to me saying, yes, I'd love you to come and meet me, I still couldn't get there until March the 2nd. On March the 2nd, I will be 32. That's too late. The challenge was to do this before I was 32. March the 1st is the deadline. Well, I'm still 31. That's the only chance I've got. And the only chance I've got to get in there is to fly blind, not knowing if he will agree to meet me or not. I've got no choice. It's a no-brainer. If I wait, I've lost. If I go now, I have a chance. Into my car I get to the airport. In Heathrow Airport, in a little internet kiosk, I book myself into a cheap little hotel in Sydney, committing myself to the task. Then I surf into my bank account. See the amount of money I've got left. I know exactly what the contract said. I knew I haven't written one word of this novel. I know how much money Jake had given me. I know what the deadlines mean. I know that I now owe Jake every single penny of this money back. Legally, morally, contractually, completely and utterly correctly and without complaint. I now owe Jake all of this money back. But I found myself in that airport staring at that bank account, seeing the small amount of money propping me up in life that day, and I found myself in that airport thinking, fuck it! I am Thelma and Louise driving off that cliff. I am Butch and Sundance going out all guns blazing. I am David James fucking Gorman, and I am going business class. And that's what I did. I flew all the way from London to Sydney, and there I go. And there I sodding land, and if you don't believe me, here are my boarding cards, as you can see. I left Heathrow for Kuala Lumpur on the 27th of February of that year. I landed in Kuala Lumpur and took off on the 28th of February of that year. I landed in Sydney, Australia at 10:30 p.m. on the 28th of February. 25 and a half hours left with which I had to meet my man. 25 and a half hours left. First thing I did, taxi to the hotel. Hotel, where's the nearest internet cafe? They told me around the corner I went. Into that internet cafe, I'm looking through my inbox, I'm looking for his name. It's the only thing that matters to me. He's had a whole day to write to me while I've been travelling. Had he written to me? No. Okay, well, I'm in Sydney. I'm writing him another email, aren't I? I'm in Sydney. I've travelled halfway around the world. I've travelled here for one reason and one reason only, and that is to meet you. I need to meet you, please. I need 1 minute of your life. Less than that, I need a half a minute. I need a handshake from you, that's all, please. Tell me where you are and I will travel to you. I've travelled 10,000 miles today. Of course, I'll do some more, please. This means my world. This is it. I've got my entire life in this game. I need this to work. If I lose this game, I've thrown my life away, please. This means the world to me. That's why I've travelled half of it. I need this to happen. Please, it has to happen on March the 1st while I'm still 31. After that, I've lost this game. Please. This is my email address. This is my phone number at the hotel. Please, I beg of you. I will check them all through March the 1st. Please, get in touch. I need to know what's happening. Dave, send. Went back to the hotel. I slept a while. My body gave me little choice. I needed it. I woke up the next morning, refreshed, revived, eager, keen, straight into that internet cafe. I'm looking for his name in my inbox again. It's still not there. Still not there. Okay, maybe he's not up yet. Maybe he's going to ring me. He might ring me. I'll go back to the hotel. I wait for the phone to ring. Phone's not ringing. Phone's not ringing. Phone's not ringing. Okay, back into that internet cafe. Nothing, 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 nothing. Hotel, nothing, nothing, nothing. Cafe, nothing. Hotel, nothing. Cafe, nothing. Hotel, nothing. Nothing, 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 nothing but fucking heartbreak all day long. And then finally, at about 6:30 p.m. in that internet cafe, I see his name in my inbox for the very first time. My heart leaps into my mouth. Every fibre of my body is desperate to read that email. Apart from the fibres that make up that finger, it refuses to click on the mouse. It doesn't want to open it. It doesn't want to be responsible for the rest of my life. And I have to force it, and bang, that email opens up and fills the screen in front of me. I was looking at 2 words. No, sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed my Googlewhack adventure. If you have, please tell your friends, and if you haven't, please tell your friends. I think word of mouth should always exist on everything you see live, and it should always be honest as well, so please do. I encourage you to do that. The only thing I ask of you regarding that, and this is a sincere request, is to please don't go and tell people what happens in the show. Tell people what you think of the show. If you went to see a movie, you wouldn't go and tell your friends who the murderer was, because you wouldn't spoil the plot. Most comedy shows don't have a plot, but this is a true story. Like all of your lives, it has a plot. You spoil plots if you go and tell other people what happens in them. You'll make it less enjoyable for them if they ever catch it, okay? So it's a sincere request. Please don't tell them how it ends. And I think almost more importantly, please, 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 don't tell people that this is there. I hate this. This upsets me. I don't like this being here. I don't like hearing other people talk about it. People come up to me in the streets now and say, my friend saw your show, he told me you got a tattoo, can I have a look at it? You wouldn't fucking go up to a stranger and say, can I look at your bullet wound, would you? I am permanently scarred with a reminder of how stupid I can be. I hate this. I forget it's there, and then I wake up in the morning and I see it again looking back at me in the mirror, and every single morning I swear I see his little lips go, you wanker. Please, don't tell people that's there, because it only encourages them to talk about it, and I hate that. Now, there are always going to be some cynics in the world. There will always be some people who think this isn't a true story. There will always be some people who think I did all of this in order to have this show. I also wrote a book about this, and recently somebody came up to me after a show and said, you clearly got paid by your publisher to do this. Let me explain to you how that book comes to exist. When I came home from this, and I had to go and confront my publishers, and I had to say to them, I'm sorry I haven't written your novel, but I have spent all of your money. Their lawyers got in touch with my lawyers, who incidentally didn't exist until some other lawyers wanted to talk to them. Lawyers. To say, that's stealing. We want a novel on Thursday or our money back. I can't do that. I haven't got the money. I haven't written a novel. I can't. I don't know what to do. My first suggestion was, look, I've been all over the world. I've travelled 90,000 miles around the world. I've met all these people. Maybe I could write that book instead. And they said, no, that's not a novel. A novel is a work of fiction. It's like we've ordered a sculpture. You're offering us a painting. We're the fiction department. That's what we do. Unless it's a novel, we're not interested. I said, look, I could change the name of the main character to Craig. I said, grow up and give us the money back. So I went to Australia. I started writing and performing this show. About 2 weeks after this story had ended, I was on stage in Australia telling people this story because I had to do something to get the money back. That's why this show exists. I didn't do all of this so that I could have this show. I do this show in order to rescue myself from the financial oblivion that all this left me. I am blessed. I am the most fortunate man in the world. The show went really well. I did it in Australia, Melbourne, then Sydney, then I came to Britain. I did it at the Edinburgh Festival, then I toured this country. I did 150 shows, and in doing that, I paid back the publishers. I set up a system so that everything I earned from this show was going straight into their account. I didn't realise they weren't just watching their own account, they were also watching the reviews of the show. As the last penny rolled into my publisher's account, the phone rang, and I said, Dave, thanks ever so much for the money, we really appreciate it, it's very good of you. While you're on the phone, the non-fiction department have said they'd quite like a word. Apparently, they think you might like to write a book about what you've done. I said, what a good idea! That was the life raft floating before my eyes. I clung onto that for dear life. That's why that book and this show exist. That's how this came to happen. And there will, even though I've told you now, there will still be cynics in this room. If you're sitting there thinking that I made this up, let me say this. There are 3 possible reasons why this is on my arm. Number 1, it's a real tattoo that I had done in order to entertain strangers. How fucked is that? Number 2, it's a fake. Number 3, I've told you a true story. I give you 1 chance to verify for yourself that this is a true story. It does not happen outside, it does not happen on the street tomorrow, it does not happen in the bar tonight. It happens here in this theatre between you, me, and these 4 walls, and at no other time. I'm going to crouch down at the edge of this stage, I'm going to roll up my sleeve. You will have 10 seconds, if you wish to rub, spit, scratch. Do anything you see fit to verify for yourselves that I've told you a true story. If you're in the balconies, I suggest you start moving now. If you're sitting in a chair thinking, I don't believe this is true, but I'm not going to be bothered to find out, fuck off! And never come and see me in any theatre ever again. I do not want your cynicism in my room. You should have the good grace to come and find out that you're wrong and I'm right. It's the only reason I put myself through this. If you believe me, you've got no reason to come. If you don't, it is entirely up to you to take the option. Your 10 seconds. Oh, having a discussion about it, are we, on the 3rd row? Oh, how cynical are we today? Are we cynical enough to move 8 yards? Is that what you're fucking doing? Is that what you're doing? Do you want to have a fucking closer look at it? Would you like to have a look at it? Have a fucking look at it. Go on then, have a look. Too lazy to do this. Your time starts now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You cynical fucker! Fuck off! Real, isn't it? Isn't it? Now you 3 stand up, turn round, and tell that audience that you were wrong and I was right. We were wrong. It's a fucking true story. For fuck's sake! You're trying to work out whether you're allowed to fucking film it now, are you, Mr. fucking cameraman? Mr. I'm the people at home, they haven't had a fucking chance. I'll have a fucking look then. Go on then. Are you happy now? Are you happy? Is that all right for you? Is that fucking... Are you close enough? Have you got it at home? Have you? Now sod off and do your fucking job. It's a true story. If I was any good at making things up, I'd have written a fucking novel. Please believe me when I tell you this was the worst day of my sodding life. I woke up the morning after this, it was my birthday. 10,000 miles from home, alone, broke, and a failure. I hated myself that morning. I wanted to smother myself in the cheap nylon pillows in that room. But I couldn't because the phone started ringing, and you can't kill yourself if the phone's ringing. It's not possible. What is it? It's reception. There's somebody downstairs to say, no, that isn't. You've rung the wrong room. I don't know anyone in Sydney. What are you talking about? She said, look, his name's Danny. He says happy birthday. But it is my birthday. why is he in Sydney? I don't understand. Okay, send him upstairs. That's brilliant. Thank you. I put the phone down. I ran and got dressed really hurriedly. There's a rat-a-tat-tat at the door. I go to the door. There's a complete stranger standing there going, happy birthday! Thank you. You wouldn't by any chance wish you were a Minogue, would you? He said, yes. I said, right, Danny isn't your real name, is it? He said, no, but Kylie rather gives it away. Very good joke, young man, you better come in, hadn't you? Do you want a cup of tea? He said, yes. I said, right, I put the kettle on. I could not conceal my anger. Why didn't you come and see me yesterday? I needed to meet you yesterday. Yesterday I was 31, now I'm 32. Now you're rubbing salt in my wounds. Why couldn't you give me half a minute of your life yesterday? He said, I couldn't. Yesterday was Mardi Gras. For those that don't know, Mardi Gras, one of the world's largest gay and lesbian pride marches. It happens in Sydney, Australia. It's not just for the gay and lesbian community, it's for the world. 400,000 people flood the streets of Sydney that day. Mum and dad, grandma and granddad, kids in pushchairs, all celebrating sexuality in all its many flavours. And this man says to me, my girlfriend goes to that. And so I have to go with her. Because what sane man would not accompany the woman he loves to the biggest party in the city in which they live? And every year I go, and every year I stand on the side of the street thinking, this is it. This is the day that my two worlds collide. This is the day that my world ends. I see gay friends of mine in the parade and in the crowd, and I see straight friends of mine in the crowd, and I don't know who I am. I don't know who to be. How do I wear my hair, my collar, my jeans? How do I stand? How do I talk? How do I behave? Which me do I be? All I know is that if my two worlds meet, my life is over. All I do that day is hold tight onto my girlfriend and steer her away from the people I do not want her to meet. And that includes you. You know about my website. She doesn't. I can't let the two of you breathe the same oxygen, let alone speak to each other. I know how much you needed it. I know how much you wanted it. And I wanted to be able to give it to you, and I couldn't. And I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. I had no idea when I wrote those emails that I was ever making anyone else's life more difficult. I apologise, I'm sorry. But why the fuck have you come to tell me that now? I don't need to know that now, do I? My life is ruined this morning. I've thrown it all away. And the last thing I need to be told is I made somebody else's life more difficult while fucking up my own. He said, fine. I came to say thank you, as it goes. My website says, tell me what you think of me. I need to know what other people think of me because I don't know what I think of me. And you ignored all that, didn't you? All you ever did was write to me saying, can you come and meet me to play your own stupid, poxy-sotting little game? I need to know what other people think. And then last night, from nowhere, you summoned up an opinion. You had the guts to tell me what you think. Not many do. I'm in town this morning. I thought I'm by myself. I'll go and say thank you. I know where he is. So here I am this morning, saying happy birthday, David Gorman, and thank you for having the guts for telling me exactly what you think of me, because I had. When I read no sorry, I hit reply. I said, right. Well, while I'm here, let me say I think you are being a complete and utter shit to your girlfriend. She's an adult, she's a grown-up, she is a human being who is entitled to make adult, grown-up choices about her own future as based on real information given to her by the people who claim to love her. You absolute fucking cunt. It's a bad word and I'm sorry. Don't you dare applaud that word. You demean me and you in applauding that word. I'm not proud of that word. It's not a funny word. It's not a clever word. I wouldn't normally use that word. But this is a true story, and that's the truth. That's the word that fell through my fingers into the keyboard in my rage that day. And he looked me in the eye in that hotel room and said, thank you for that. Thank you for your advice. I'm not going to take it. But I appreciate the honesty with which it is given. And I said, right. So what we are now is a pair of dickweeds in a hotel room in Sydney. My life is screwed this morning. I've thrown it all away. And from where I'm sitting, yours is even fucking worse. He said, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm out of my depth. Maybe you can't help me now. Maybe nobody can. But maybe, just maybe, Mr. Gorman, maybe I can help you. Oh, can you really? Maybe I can, actually, yes. What time do you make it now? And it's about 9:30. He went, right. What time's that in England? 10:30 yesterday. Which means it's 11:30 yesterday in France. Which means I'm picking up the telephone. Hello, David Gorman, how are you there? What time do you call this? What time do you call this, Dave? I'd rather you that question. What time is it? He said it's 11:30 at night. Why? What night is it, Dave? Tell me that. He said it's Friday night. Why? No, Dave, what night of the year is it? Tell me that. He said it's March the 1st. Why? And I said, because that's the day before my 32nd birthday. I'm just ringing to let you know that I've met 10 Googlewhacks in a row. I am the winner. Sydney, Australia, 2003. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the Googlewhacks. See you again sometime. Thanks a lot. Good night.